Get great deals on the latest phones, tablets, and business apps with O2 Business. Hey guys, Basil here with a comparison between the Samsung Galaxy S7 and the iPhone SE. The iPhone SE is the cheapest iPhone Apple has ever released, and it's not surprising given the fact that it's packing the design of a device that they launched a couple of years ago. One thing you do get in here is cutting-edge Apple specs. So you've got the same camera as found on the iPhone 6S, as well as the same processor too. But how does it stack up from the best of the best in the Android world? The Samsung Galaxy S7. Size-wise, instantly you can tell the S7 is huge by comparison. 5.1 inch screen versus simply 4 inches of display. What you've also got is a lot of bezel going on that teeny tiny display by contrast in terms of size. You've in fact got pretty much the same height of bezel up top and bottom, in fact more so on the bottom than you do on the S7, and the S7 also has less bezel either side of the display too. That isn't even less bezel in proportion, it's just less bezel in general. So if you don't like bezel, then you definitely don't want the iPhone SE. But the iPhone SE is much smaller phone, much more manageable. It has flat sides as well, really easy to hold and feels pretty secure in the hand. Doesn't feel like I'm going to drop it when I shake it frantically. A little bit more slippery on the Samsung Galaxy S7, but what you do have on the S7 is a rounded glass back, and the curve feels nice and ergonomic, leading beautifully into the metal banding around the sides. Right, now that I've finished gushing about that, you can see the front. You've got two front-facing cameras and two home buttons. Both home buttons double up as fingerprint scanners. Down at the base, micro USB for charging and a loudspeaker and 3.5mm jack, lightning connector for charging and a loudspeaker and a 3.5mm jack. Volume buttons to the left, you've got a quick toggle on the iPhone, and up at the top, power button on the iPhone, and a micro SD expandable slot up top along with a nano SIM card slot. Around the back, 12 megapixel snappers across both devices, and both are going to be class leading. But you've also got a heart rate monitor around the back of the Samsung Galaxy S7. So that's the design. I ultimately, being a 6'4" giant that I am, prefer the Galaxy S7. It also looks more futuristic. The curved back is pretty neat, and yeah, beautiful phone. That said, if I did have smaller hands than I do, I might well opt for this, but I would have to forego the fact that it does look like an older phone in general, given all of that bezel. Screens are very different as well. You've got a Quad HD display versus a 640 by 1136 display. Quad HD AMOLED versus IPS. So it's sharper, it's more vibrant, it's more punchy. And also, interestingly, the SE, the iPhone SE's display is more warmly calibrated than I thought it would be. Apple historically has always calibrated their screens quite nice and cool, which is my personal preference. And indeed, the AMOLED screen on the Samsung Galaxy S7 is a fair bit cooler, in a good way. That said, IPS displays habitually have excellent viewing angles, and indeed the iPhone SE's display is no exception in that respect. You can see side by side they run different operating systems. iOS 9.3 on here versus Android Marshmallow. It will obviously be getting the update to Android N when that's publicly available, but this is the latest version of Android that is there for public release. You've got applications across both. You've got widgets across both too, though the widgets are in your notifications shade in your iPhone SE. You've also got notifications and quick toggles on the iPhone, with your notifications and quick toggles pulling down from the top on your Samsung Galaxy S7. Performance across both of these should be mind-blowingly fast. First off, you've got 4 GB of RAM paired with a Snapdragon 820 on the Samsung Galaxy S7. But here you've got way less pixels it's pushing, and you've got no less than an A9 chip pushing them. 2 GB of RAM will be much more economical, and perform really well on iOS, because the device in general is more, the operating system in general, sorry, is more efficient. As far as memory variants go, you've got 32 GB on the Samsung Galaxy S7 and expandability by micro SD card versus either 16, don't do it, or 64 GB on the iPhone SE. Cameras, 2 awesome ones. Optical image stabilization though on the Samsung Galaxy S7, none on the iPhone SE. They're both 12 megapixel and both set to perform brilliantly even in low light. We're going to be putting them through their paces in more detailed camera comparisons, and throw in the iPhone 6S Plus with its optically image stabilized camera packing the same sensor as the SE later down the line. We'll also be be testing out battery more thoroughly later when we've had the iPhone SE for longer. It's got a teeny tiny cell though, and we're not expecting the Earth, and that's definitely unlikely in my opinion so far, to stack up with the 3000 milliamp cell in the Samsung Galaxy S7, but I could well be wrong. You will have to watch this space to find out. Connections, Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, all that jazz. You've got the latest of the fastest Cat6 LTE speeds across both too. NFC, though the NFC on the iPhone SE will really only be usable for Apple Pay. Samsung Pay will be launching later this year, but the NFC will also be usable for file transfers and a lot of other cool stuff like one-touch pairing with Bluetooth devices. Ultimately though, two flagship-esque devices in a few areas, one flagship-esque device in virtually every area. Any questions about either, fire them in the comments section below. Like this video, click like the channel, subscribe. That's how you'll stay on top of everything that we do. Thanks for watching BTech. Get great deals on the latest phones, tablets and business apps with O2 Business.